This gentleman here is Golex's brother. Hey, so tell me, Viltrox, what brings you here today?
I only came here to remind you of my faction's demands, Moran. We deserve recognition from the Zwillian public for our protection of the nation's various secrets. To that end, we want representation and increased resources.
Yes, I've heard it before. But you see, you can't be recognized for protecting secrets we can't even let the public know exist.
Then at least by the aristocracy.
I'm afraid your demands, such as they are a fantasy of how government works. We can reallocate additional resources to your people, but it will take some time.
We grow impatient, Moran.
Let's be realistic, Viltrox. All your people have as well. You think you can obtain what you want from the outside? Who's going to give you a better deal?
I do not know, but...
Viltrox, please direct your negotiation ideas to your elders. I can't deal with you directly in the future.
This isn't over, Moran.
Yes, that would be wishful thinking, Viltrox. Why is it that we like Tenchi Muyo again? I mean it. Why is it that we like, or liked, Tenchi Muyo? I mean, our main hero is as bland as you can be, though not entirely unsympathetic. The humor can grate, and the potential for great science fiction fantasy is stymied by repetitive story beats. There are no strongly written antagonists either. They kind of fizzle out, don't they? And let's face it, Tenchi Muyo, it's going nowhere. A meandering pile of cliches, isn't it? But for some reason, while it may be a faded appreciation, I still have some affection for this dinosaur of a franchise. It's a dead horse that keeps getting beaten, but in some ways it's kind of nice to see that they're still making it. In other ways, though, why? If it's anything like that third OVA, why make more? If I sound inconsistent about the whole franchise, I guess it's because the franchise itself is a bit like that too, even within its own individual entries. I do have to admire the attempt to, in 1995, distill the Tenchi Muyo experience into a television series. Something with a full picture. That is, the show that would become known overseas as Tenchi Universe. Ah, Tenchi Universe. Like the first two Tenchi OVAs, it was a staple of the Toonami lineup. And boy did it confuse viewers when it first aired, because most of us had little or no concept of different continuities, at least in Tenchi, so this new thing where Tenchi met Ryoko differently than he met her before was a bizarre experience. At least it was for me, but maybe I was a little slow on the uptake because the different Gundam continuities confused me back then too. At least the different Gundam continuities didn't have the same characters. But as I said, there are differences that become immediately clear in Tenchi Universe. For one, Tenchi meets space pirate Ryoko when she crashes to Earth, having driven drunk while pursued by Galaxy police officer Mahoshi. Ayeka, the Princess of Jirai, shortly follows, picking up a distress beacon from Mahoshi, and then shortly after her little sister Sasami. They're all startled to meet the imprisoned mad scientist Washu, who is sealed away in the Masaki shrine, and somewhat relieved when Mahoshi's more competent partner Kiyone comes and at least partially takes her off their hands. Ah, Kiyone Makibi. She was new to the franchise at the time, the long-suffering partner of Mahoshi, and straight man to the Ditz's antics. I think they dialed up Mahoshi's incompetence for the sake of the comedy, and because it makes Kiyone look better, because otherwise she, like Tenchi, is a pretty bland character, just being competent officer with some ambition. Well, at least she's better than Noike, who is even blander. Everybody else is pretty much the same. Ryoko is the lusty space pirate with a short temper. Ayeka is the mostly demure noblewoman who is nevertheless driven to break by Ryoko. Sasami is a sweet little girl. Washu is an eccentric egomaniac with a penchant for machines. Ryuoki is a cat/rabbit/spaceship with a love of carrots. Tenchi is as uninteresting as my personal life. They made Tenchi's dad a little less perverted, but his grandfather is about the same, only actually aged, not just putting on an act. For a while, the show doesn't really do much, aside from introducing new characters. There are a few episodes of random hijinks, like Washu making a robot to help her work, only to have its mind influenced by Mahoshi's DNA. There's a more emotional episode where Tenchi remembers the day of his mother's death, and he reflects with his grandfather and father at her grave at the shrine. There's one where Ryoko is challenged by a bounty hunter named Nagi, and they fight in an artificial environment Washu made. There are 3 episodes where the characters are thrown into alternate realities. The main plot doesn't start proper until halfway through the series, when a new Jiraiyan emperor takes the throne and declares Ayeka and Sasami traitors. Tenchi and the gang are forced to flee into space, doing all kinds of odd jobs while hiding from the authorities, hoping to get to Jirai to clear up the matter eventually. So again, more varied hijinks ensue, like Sasami becoming friends with a ghost, or the beach swimsuit competition episode. But then the plot settles in again when Tenchi's grandfather turns out to be more than he seems, ancient Jiraiyan warriors are released from their long slumber, and the journey to Jirai shortens as the villain of the piece finally appears. Of course, like OVA 1, it's Kagato, but kind of a different Kagato.
That's good. I can feel your fighting spirit now.
Kagato, I have to make you die once again, you know.
As the heir to the throne of planet Jirai, will your power win? Or will my power triumph, amplified by the darkness of the universe? We shall see.
I admire the plot's ability to move into a second gear for the overall plot with the Kagato storyline, while still allowing for some sidetracking into other situations. It's why I think the Space Arc's distractions are more entertaining overall than the Earth Arc's distractions. You might think it would be the opposite, since now the story has thrust, and it keeps making pit stops, but the pit stops are all along the same one road instead of seeming aimless and meandering. I wish the OVA would have shifted into a second gear at really any point, instead of stalling in the same place and merely bringing along a couple of new hitchhikers to the vehicle. Wait, what kind of metaphor am I working with here? A car of some kind, I think? The question is, how does Universe stack up to its parent, the Tenchi OVA continuity? Well, it has some advantages and disadvantages, I think. One of the positives it has over its OVA counterpart is that it's a complete story. It has a beginning, middle, and a pretty definitive ending. It tells a story with full dramatic structure, rising action, climax, etc. This is more than we can say for the OVA, which seems to have stalled plot-wise for decades. I didn't watch all of the 4th OVA, so for those who did anything actually move the plot forward in that? Or was it all just introducing new characters who do nothing? We're on the 5th OVA now, and nobody is even talking about it. But there's something a little more special about the OVA, or at least the first 2. Besides having higher production values and richer environments, it also had more complex world building and potential for more. That it didn't live up to its potential in later entries is a huge disappointment, but the TV series feels a little thinner and meager in comparison. Still, if you had to ask me which I prefer, I'd say I have about equal estimation of both. Do they hold up super well after all these years? Well, not especially, but for what it's worth, a sincere attempt was made, which is more than I can say for some anime. Tenchi Muyo. It's a relic of the past, but not an entirely tarnished one. There are better franchises, but it still has its place in the canon. Speaking of long-running franchises, next time we take a look at another Lupin the Third special. Until then, see ya!
Listen, through his experiments, Heisenberg concluded that the accurate measurements of one of two related observable quantities, such as position and momentum, produces uncertainties in the measurement of the other. He figured that the product of the uncertainties of position and the uncertainties of momentum equal to or greater than h over 2 pi, where h equals Planck's constant. It means that observations in quantum mechanics always lead to uncertainty. You understand this, don't you?
Nope, not at all.
When the cherry blossom starts to bloom, meet me here in my lonely room. We'll find our passion-filled fantasy, and this time you will stay with me. All the misery we knew before stays away when you are at my door.
So, you're Gullix's brother, huh?
Yes. Tell me, does he still cling to Cassius's cape?
Oh yeah, he's a real suck-up.
A disappointment. He was one of our fiercest and most determined.
So what's your deal, anyway?
My deal is that I want either the benefits owed to us Lithos, or our complete independence from Zwell.
Too political for my tastes. I'd just start offing these aristocratic twerps myself.
Believe me, it's been tried. Golex and I were caught before we could.
Well, if at first you don't succeed, buddy.
I wonder, Lowlander, which side are you on?
Entertainment side, my friend. Entertainment.